Hello there, fellow humans, and welcome to this week's shop review. In the tank section, the T-55A is a very bad choice, and you definitely should not buy it. Then the Forged Alliance, well, it's not really worth it. The M3 can theoretically be sold for 850 gold, and the T127 can be sold for 970, but overall, the bundle isn't really worth it. This U100Y is a meme tank at best, so treat it as such. It's not really worth it. The 14 days of premium can be pretty useful though, but this is not really a vehicle that you want to have. Most importantly. Now, the Object 268 version 4 is overpriced, so I don't recommend it in this current state. Then we have the Unparalleled Platoon, which is a bit of a tricky one because the MX M449 is a pretty decent tank, and to be honest, for 5k, it's a pretty okay deal to obtain this vehicle. Now, it's obviously nowhere near as good as the 5.5k bundles that are in the shop sometimes, but the MX M449 is a pretty decent vehicle nonetheless. It's sort of like the T54E2 for people that can't afford the T54E2. Now, 5k without equipment, a bit questionable, but overall pretty solid. And the M48, this thing, it's not a good vehicle, and it is absolutely incredibly overpriced. I have no idea why anyone thinks this is worth 8.5k. It's worth 5k at best. But the only thing this vehicle does have is the ability to confuse new players by having this shield at the front. The lower plate is still very pennable and will essentially every shot will go through. It also has a massive cupola on top, so no, this is not a good vehicle. It's okay-ish, but okay is worth 5k, not 8.5k. So together, I wouldn't really recommend them either, because for 10k both, sure, but just the M48, it's just not a good vehicle. It's not worth it, really. But if you do think it is, it can be a decent bundle still, 11.5k for equipment and all those kind of things. Now, the Object 268 version 4 is overpriced, as already mentioned, and it isn't as good of a vehicle as some people think it is. It is by no means OP. It is a solid tier 10 tank destroyer, but overall, it's not really worth it. The Badger was in the shop last week. That would have been the better price to performance ratio there, but overall, it's not really like the greatest thing to pick up. If you are a big tank destroyer fan, it might be worth it, but overall, it is not a good pickup for 27k. Now then, the Fire and Ice. Ice rhymes with nice, but this bundle is the opposite of that. This is one of the worst bundles of tanks that they regularly sell, because the Glacial is very horrible, and so is the Blaze. Stay away from both these vehicles. They are not worth purchasing. And now in the shop, the HWK30. I'm going to have a look in detail at this vehicle later, because it is absolutely hilarious. So stay tuned for that, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, the Object 777 draw is bad, because you have to pay 30,000 gold to get the vehicle, which, guess what? It's not worth. Now, I don't really have to say anything about this, do I? The drop chance for this background is 0.06%, so no. If you're into items that are like NFTs, but even worse, because you can't even sell them for 3 cents, then you can get yourself some Megadeth avatars for 2,000 gold each. Now, if you're playing the game actively, the Battle Pass is still a great deal most of the time. Now, one thing changed, though, that now, instead of including a tier 6 premium tank, it does include a tier 8 legendary camouflage. So, if that's more value, I mean, to me, it's no value, but the Battle Pass includes a lot of useful things like credits, gold, and boosters. So, if you play actively, if you can do the missions, I highly recommend picking up the Battle Passes. About the resources, remember what I say, if it includes crates, it's not worth it. On top of that, what's also not worth it is crates. Never buy crates or containers, or whatever you want to call them. However, open your free containers regularly, because those are very nice. Do you like boats? Because if you do like boats, you can play 3 battles and get 250,000 credits, and then pointless cosmetics. So that's very nice. And then there is a WT event that looks like this to me. This is how it's supposed to look. A clan challenge. We can get the 50 TP, the Super Hell Kit, and the Waffenträger. And you have to complete clan missions to do that. So if you're in an active clan, then go get it. All you need to know about this vehicle is that it is a worse RU-251, worse DPM, worse movement dispersion. I mean, the aim time is a little bit better. Massively worse mobility for a vehicle that really doesn't have any more armor at all. Now, I think I already made it very clear that this vehicle, its only really thing is that it is a worse RU251 for 52,000 gold. Does hammer the point home, doesn't it? So, it's slower than the RU251. It has slightly better armor, but upgrading from 0 to 0, it doesn't really help. Because just like the RU251, this vehicle can be penned by every HE round in the game, pretty much. Now, it does have sort of decent HE itself, but that doesn't really make up for anything because you can get the RU251 very much for free if you just grind a couple of battles with it. You do have to get through the SP1C, which is going to be the bigger problem, but you can get the RU251 completely for free, and it is a better vehicle than the HWK30. So this is one of those vehicles that you throw into the shop for 4,500 gold and pray that somebody buys it. Not sell it for 50k gold. Because that's what you need to buy it with charms, because obviously everything else is unreliable and isn't a metric that I want to use because it's not real. You can get it for no gold, you can get it for never. But what you need is 50,000 gold to obtain this vehicle for sure. That's what you need. 50. Just gonna repeat that again. 50,000 gold for a tank that's not worth 5. I don't know, if you're an oil baron and you are horrible with money, then there you go. Wargaming will be very happy about that. But to anyone with any shred of reason within their bloodstream, I highly recommend staying away from this vehicle. Not just now, but ever. Because why would you want an RU251 that is significantly worse? The better option there is simply get yourself an RU251, wait for permanent enrichments to be discounted, which happens every couple of months, and then permanently enrich your RU251, and then you have the HWK30 with better performance in the name of an upgraded RU251. So that's the way better option there. Now let's try and fight this tiger. Now ideally you don't want to fight a heavy tank head on, but he is currently distracted, so I can deal with that. And now obviously once he refocuses, I would like to change that. Now I'm making a point here. I just peeked out rearwards, because if he's not paying attention, he also can't shoot me. So you can do shenanigans like that. It's more about knowing what your enemy is doing rather than perfectly positioning yourself all the time. But anyway, if you're good enough, you can peek out rearwards and nothing will happen. But I don't know. The RU251 is clearly the better option. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Just stay the hell away from this vehicle. If you really want to spend money this week, get the MX M449. See you next one. Goodbye.